Levi Lord captured top money honors and more than $25,000 over Cowboy Christmas, healing for NFR header Dustin Egusquiza. The Sturgis, South Dakota native never let off the gas and is headed back to Las Vegas in December for his third National Finals Rodeo, sitting fourth in the PRCA World Standings with $138,000 in regular season earnings. Levi, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, you bet.
We can't look back on the year that you've had without talking about your fourth run. You won Livingston, Mandan, and Basin City, but seemed to pick up checks at just about every other place you guys went that week. Talk to me about that and how it all played out for you guys.
The 4th of July is always a big part of the year for everybody that's trying to rodeo. After Reno, it's kind of really the start of the season, and to do good that week kind of sets you up for the rest of the year and can boost you in the standings and just kind of let a little bit of pressure off. If you don't do good that week, it seems like you're kind of behind. So the first key to that week is getting entered right. There's so many rodeos and trying to figure out where you can go without having to travel too much, but obviously you're going to have to travel quite a bit. So we got entered pretty good how we wanted, and then there's a lot of one-head rodeos, and that really fits our deal. Going fast, one steer, and so everything just came together. It was an awesome week to win 25,000 over 3 or 4 day period. Just helps to boost you in the standings and to kind of set you up for a good season.
What about the rest of your year? Obviously, when Denver, Fort Worth, and all the big indoors roll around, the NFR is the end goal, but a lot can happen over the course of the year. Is there anything that you'd change about the 2023 regular season? Or what were some of the trials that you guys faced this year?
Our year was pretty good. It's hard to complain when you end up with 140,000 and going into the NFR, top 5. But there was obviously struggles. We started out really well. We won San Antonio, so that's another rodeo that just sets you up for having a good year. And then had a good summer. The only thing that I would change, I guess, is at the end of the year, we both had a little bit of horse trouble. We weren't riding our best horses all the time. Didn't win as much as we should in the last month. I think we were winning the world middle of August and was wanting to kind of keep that going and win the regular season and go in number 1, and just wasn't able to get that done. I don't think either one of us roped as good as we wanted to. And then, like I said, had a little bit of horse trouble.
You hear professional athletes talk about the mental aspect of competition and how important setting goals can be. What does that look like in your rig? Do you guys try to break it down into smaller goals, like hitting a certain dollar amount by a specific date in the season or to win your circuit? Or are you guys more big picture in-game type guys that were dialed in on that top spot heading into Vegas all year?
I think we both share the same end goal, and that's to go to Vegas and be world champions, and me and him both believe between our team it's definitely possible. You got to have a lot of things go your way and obviously do good at the finals. Those 10 days decides everything. But as far as through the season, we do a little bit. We had a number that we wanted to get to after San Antonio, and we had a number we wanted to be at after the 4th of July, and then we kind of had a number we wanted to finish with. So yeah, it just keeps you chasing something. It keeps you, going down the road for the whole year.
Do you feel like your mindset was any different roping with Dustin this year compared to past seasons that you've had?
Not really. We've been such good friends for so long, and we roped second partners, so it was a pretty easy transition. There was high expectations when we started, just between me and him, and then I'm sure everybody looking in from the outside expected you to do good. So it's a little bit of added pressure, but getting off to a good start, winning San Antonio, and then doing good just kind of steadily through the whole year made it a little bit easier. So it was a good season.
We already touched on entering over the 4th, but I'm curious how you guys approach things the other 51 weeks out of the year. You hear some guys entering rodeos with, X amount of added money, while others seem to enter literally anywhere they can. How do you approach entering, and what's your opinion of the rodeo count and how it affects not only the contestants, but the world standings?
I don't mind the rodeo count. I think we're going up to 80 next year. Just there's a couple rules that I think 80 is better for. They make you count your circuit rodeos, so you have to official those rodeos for it to count for your circuit standing. So that's going to help. And there's getting to be more good rodeos. So you're having to drive by rodeos that add 5,000-6,000 just because there's so many good rodeos. So I think it's good that we're going to 80. I don't think you should be able to go to unlimited because that just gets crazy and nobody wants to do that to their horses and their rigs and themselves. But as far as entering, everybody goes to pretty much the same rodeos because they pay the best and they're tour rodeos, and you got to get to the tour finals at the end. But we do try to go to a little bit more what we think we can do good at, which is, like I said, I think we can do good anywhere, but probably if we had to pick somewhere, it's just somewhere one head where we can go fast and get it out of the way and either win first or not. But I mean, out of the 75, I'm going to say we were all at the same 60. So you might duck off to 10 or 15 here or there that other people don't go to. But for the most part, it's all the same.
Do you guys enter yourself, or do you have someone take care of that for you?
I do all the entering. I've always entered ever since I started rodeo, and my dad kind of taught me how to do it, and I feel like I got pretty good at it, and I like to do it. I enjoy sitting down, scheduling, trading, all that stuff. And I think Dustin's the opposite. I think he's only entered one rodeo ever since he started rodeo, and so that works pretty well.
This is your first year rodeoing with Dustin, but as a 5, now 6-time NFR qualifier himself, what led you guys to roping together this year? And, how did that come about? Was it an automatic fit, or were there any speed bumps along the way for you guys as a partnership?
Oh, not really. I've told everybody, I guess our partnership started a long time ago. Like I said, we've been such good friends. So I think we knew at some point we would probably start roping together. And after 6 or 7 years, we were both ready. And it's been good. He's once in a lifetime talent. He's unbelievable with the rope. Being friends just makes it that much easier. We can talk about it, we can practice, we can take the good with the bad equally. So it's been a really easy transition into roping together.
Well, it's obviously working for you guys because you're headed to Las Vegas within striking distance of regular season leaders Caleb Driggers and Wesley Thorpe. Now that you've been to Vegas and roped in the Thomas and Mack, how are you preparing yourself and your horses to go back this year? And what's your game plan with more than $30,000 up for grabs each night, just shy of $80,000 going to the average?
Yeah, I think the game plan, especially for us, is go at them all for all 10 rounds and just kind of let the average take care of itself. 80,000 at the end is really nice, but if you're roping good and doing well, you should have a piece of that at the end. But for the rounds to pay 30,000 a night, it's just so much money up for grabs. I think a guy has to go out there and try to win as much as he can early, and then maybe towards the end, if you've been catching a lot and doing well, maybe you could back off a little bit. But we're definitely planning on going at them and winning as much as we can, and hopefully have things go our way. Kind of getting ready. We're starting to practice a little bit more. We don't want to really overdo it. I think you can beat your head against the wall roping for a month straight just going at them. So we're going to probably start going fast, realistic practicing here 2 weeks before we leave, do it for 10 or 12 days and call it good. It is a different rodeo, but we've been to so many. It's just a new setup. We don't see a setup like that all year, so that's really the only thing different. But we both have confidence in our horses and ourselves and roping together that we can just go there and do our deal, and it should be good enough.
Tell me about the horse that you're taking this year.
He's going to have Cage in there. It's a brown horse that he rode all year. That's one of the horses that was kind of hurt towards the end of the year that I think if we would have had him, we could have finished the year a little bit stronger. And then he's got a bay horse that he didn't take anywhere, but he's had him this fall since we got home. So he's going to have those two out there. And I'm going to have my same two horses, Birdie and Polly, the bald-faced bay and the bay roan that I rode all year. I rode Birdie last year at the NFR. I bought him right before the NFR from Jake Miner. He had rodeoed on him all of 2022, and he was kind of thinking he was going to slow down a little bit. So I got the chance to buy him and shipped him down here. And my first really big competition on him was the NFR last year, and it went well. And then rode him pretty much, I bet 60 out of 75 rodeos this year I rode him. And then since we've been home, I sent him to the swimmers, and he's just been relaxing a little bit. But I picked him up the other day, so we're fixing to start practicing.
It wouldn't feel right to talk about your horsepower without mentioning LB. For those that don't know the story, tell us how he came into your life and all the places he's taken you.
Oh, he's just such a special part of my career and journey of how we got here. I was in high school looking for a horse and came down here to Texas to look at some horses and was looking at some that were higher priced and better looking and younger, and then went and tried this horse for, no money at all. I paid $2,700 for him, but I guess it was just probably meant to be, because I don't know if he's the greatest horse ever, but he was sure about as good as I could ask for myself. I bought him when I was sophomore in high school, I guess, and then rode him all through high school, all through college. Won anything I ever won early on was on him, won the circuit on him a few times, and then kept riding him all the way till my first NFR in 2020. He's a 1996, so he was 24 when I rode him in my first NFR, and then kept riding him a little bit. He's retired now. When I made the NFR last year, I didn't have a ton of horses, and I almost thought about riding him. I went and caught him, put some shoes on him. I was roping the machine on him. Dustin he laughs at me. I was out there roping the Hillmatic on my 25-year-old horse, thinking I might use him at the NFR, but I didn't end up doing anything with him. And now him and Dude are Dustin's old sorrel that he first started on. They're turned out right over here at his in-laws. We drive by and see him every once in a while. So he's just one of those horses. Everybody has one, I guess. Hopefully I'll have some more, but me and him will always be kind of linked together, and he's sure special.
So he doesn't get to go for even a grand entry horse this year?
No, he'd be a terrible grand entry horse anyways. He'd probably run off. So I think he'll just stay here. But he deserves to go just as much as I do. That's kind of why I thought about riding him last year a little bit. But he's definitely fully retired now, and I wish he could watch it, but he'll be turned out there with Dustin's old sorrel.
That's such a neat story. You've touched on it a couple times now. You're a part of a special group of NFR qualifiers that has gotten to compete in Las Vegas as well as at Globe Life Stadium when the pandemic forced the finals to move back in 2020. I think it's safe to say the entire Western industry was thankful that we had an NFR that year, but I'm curious to hear a contestant's perspective. Now that you've roped in the Thomas and Mack, is there any comparison?
I don't want to say no, just because, like you said, that year was so trying for everybody. And we're just lucky to have any NFR, and then they made it pay the same. The payoff didn't drop at all. And that's what we all rodeo for, is at the end of the year to have a chance to win a lot of money and kind of get ahead for the year. So we're very thankful for what they did that year. It's been a while now, but it was awesome that they were able to put that together on such short notice. But then after going to Vegas, there's not really much comparison. It's just a different atmosphere out there, in my opinion anyways. That's where the NFR is supposed to be. You go out there and everybody's there for the Cowboys. It's 10 days of rodeo and you kind of feel like a celebrity out there. And obviously the atmosphere with all the nightlife and everything going on, it's one of a kind. It's not a feeling you can really describe. You just have to experience it. Roping in the Thomas and Mack is a dream come true.
Well, I'd say the Thomas and Mack is a pretty good fit for you, considering you won the first round with Junior D's last year. It's no secret that that's a small, fast setup, and obviously the energy in that building can't be replicated. But do you feel like the buildings and barns and those small, fast setups that you grew up roping in here in South Dakota help prepare you for that kind of run?
Yeah, I think it definitely does. Like you said, growing up there where the winters are a little tougher than they are down here. When we roped in the wintertime, it was always in a little tiny building and that's all we had. So yeah, I think it's definitely similar and probably what molded me into being a little bit faster roper, And Dustin's the same way. He grew up over there in the Southeast and they've got a lot of little setups and go fast. So I guess that's what makes us both pretty aggressive ropers and why we work pretty good together.
Well, you can't talk about team roping in the Badlands without mentioning your father, a 14-time Badlands Circuit champion holding all-around steer wrestling and team roping titles, 2 of which he won with you, the Levi Lord. What kind of impact has he had on your career and the Cowboys that you and your older brother Eli are today?
Yeah, I guess it would be pretty much everything. That's where we started. We grew up getting to live inside the rodeo lifestyle and going down the road to the rodeos with him, and that's all we ever knew, really, And when we got a little older, we got to know that he was pretty successful up there in the Badlands Circuit. And it was awesome going to all the rodeos. And then when I turned 18, being able to rodeo with him for my first few years and win the circuit a few times and just kind of get my start of learning how to win and learning how to enter. And yeah, he's helped us both more than we could ever say, Very thankful to have somebody like that to help us get our start. And now since we've grown into pro rodeo, it all started from where we started in the Badlands and rodeoing with him.
Your family has obviously played a big part in your success, but who else has been influential in your rodeo career and who do you remember looking up to as a young team roper in South Dakota?
Other than my family, I guess just all the same kind of older guys that growing up you dreamed of being like them, the Allen Box and Clay Cooper. And then when I got a little older, it was Jade and guys like that. And now I come down here and it's kind of crazy. You take a step back sometimes and you're like, am I one of those guys now? Because you don't feel like it, Now I go up against Jade. And it's like, man, he's the best healer of our generation and junior now, and be able to compete with those guys instead of like looking up and just dreaming of being like them one day, It's kind of a surreal feeling when you think about it.
You were a South Dakota High School Rodeo state champion header back in 2011. How'd you end up on the heel side?
I think that was just kind of an accident. I headed in high school. I was probably a better healer, but in high school rodeo, if you can just catch, you probably have a chance to win. So I roped good enough, and I was heading for Jade Nelson, another really good healer from up there. And I guess I probably just didn't have a header that I thought was as good as I could head, I guess, which I didn't head that good. I just caught the steer. But yeah, we won state, but I was always supposed to be a healer. Eli and JB were both headers, so I always healed when we grew up, and I still enjoy to head, but probably better stick to healing for making a living because I never did get quite good enough at it.
What is your favorite rodeo to enter? What do you consider your biggest win? And what's one that you haven't won yet that you would like to before you quit someday?
My biggest win, I guess, would have to be probably Houston. I won Houston in 2017 with Zach Small, and that was before I was anybody. I barely got in from rodeoing with my dad from the year before. We just did well enough that I got in and went down there and won Houston with Zach, and that kind of got me a little bit of a start, the money to be able to buy some more horses and stuff. So that was probably my biggest win. My favorite rodeo, Houston's one of them, I guess, just because of what we just talked about. It's hard to not love that place where when I won it at such a young age and early in my career, it was a really big win. I really like Nampa. I don't know why. It's not like a special rodeo or anything. It's a really good rodeo. But I tell people all the time that's one of my favorite rodeos. I guess it's just we've been going so hard for 2 or 3 weeks in a row, and you kind of get up there and get to relax, and it's a really nice area, play golf, hang out. So that's one of my favorite rodeos. I've won it once, won second twice, so I've done well there also. Rodeos I'd want to win, there's so many. One that just comes to mind is Cheyenne. Eli's won it twice. My dad had a chance to win it a lot of times, and I've been there every year since I can remember. And it would be so cool to win a rodeo like that. I guess I'd have to ask my brother what it's like, but the history there and how far rodeo goes back there, and when you get there, it's just a different feel at that rodeo. So it'd be pretty cool to win that one.
What is the best advice you've ever been given, or what would you like to tell your younger self knowing what you know now?
I think about that all the time, honestly, because it's like I sit back and I'm like, how did I get from just a kid in South Dakota that didn't come from a lot of money or anything like that? My parents did great keeping us in the best horses they could and everything like that. But you just have to believe in yourself. Anybody can do it if I can do it. I know what it's like to be a kid sitting up there and see all the kids down here in Texas that seem to have all the better horses and better rigs and rope all the time. But if you just believe in yourself and stay at it, work hard, you can get there. It might take a little longer, which it did. I had to come down here and grind it out and get better horses and start roping better, and then you get better partners, and then you fall into meeting somebody like Dustin. He's been huge for my career, and it's a journey, man. But believing in yourself and thinking you can do it, start there and then go from there. You should be able to go far.